Hello and welcome back, and today I want to talk about SSDs. I know, I seem to talk about SSDs every month or so in a kind of tenuous way. I'll either talk about it in terms of SSD caching, or I'll talk about it in terms of 4K and 1080p editing, or maybe I'll talk about just simply what the SSDs are like these days. But today I want to talk about something a little bit more tangential. I want to talk about where the hell are the SSDs? You guys must have noticed, particularly if you're watching this video and you found it on Google while searching to buy a brand new SSD, you may have noticed that the sheer number of SSDs that are available these days has suddenly started to thin out. Whether it's the last couple of months of 2020 or even the closing stages of last year, you may have noticed that a lot of SSDs, commercial availability, so to speak, has decreased quite noticeably. Now, I'm not talking about the top end stuff. Anything above about 4 TB or even 2 TB is fairly prevalent. And don't ignore that QNAP in the background beeping away. With regard to the SSDs themselves, I'm talking more about the kind of 500 gig to 2 terabyte margin. That area there. The people that are buying these SSDs are using them for booting their PC or Mac or laptop system. These are people that are using these for NAS in terms of SSD caching or live editing, where if you go with that 10% average and you fill a NAS with hard drives, you generally want to complement the amount of storage at about the 10% threshold. That means for every 10 terabytes of storage, you want 1 terabyte of SSD caching. So a lot of you out there, when you've been looking around, have noticed two things. One, that the sheer number of SSDs that are available has decreased rapidly. It went from there were so many kinds of 500 gig drive. In fact, if you think back pre-Google effect, you can think about the fact that there were literally thousands of different kinds of SSD brand out there, some real middling know-nothing companies as well. And then over time, just like with Google and search engines, it all narrowed down until there was about 5 or 10 real top tier SSD companies. Now, these companies do, within their own way, spread out. You've got your Intels at the top and your Samsungs as well there. And then after that, you've got the kind of next tier that are fighting amongst themselves. And that's kind of your Kingstons, your Toshibas, your Seagates, your WD/SanDisks. And then after that, you've got your Microns and your kind of brands that don't really exist, like your OCZs anymore. They've pretty much long gone. So the whole family of SSDs kind of lives in that world. And all of them have seemingly started to have this kind of quantity slowdown on all of these drives. Now, two big reasons for this are, one, a more recent one, the coronavirus has affected a number of different factories and distribution centers that on that side of the world. We do seem to see every 2 or 3 years natural events as well, natural disasters too, affecting these eastern manufacturing centers, where either they are hit by truly awful events in those regions, or in preparation and for the avoidance of casualties, and this goes for the coronavirus as well, factories will close temporarily, fearing that if you've got 1,000 members of staff working in an area every month, you might want to reduce it to 50 or 100 controlled individuals, which will of course limit your output, because the alternative is the risk of larger spread infection. Now, the second area of concern when it comes to the manufacturing, particularly of SSDs more than anything else, is SSDs are made of a number of different components which are incredibly specialist. Primarily, and I'm talking about your WDs, I'm talking about your SanDisks, I'm talking about your Seagate, I'm talking about Samsung, I'm talking about Kingston. They're all of them utilize NAND. And NAND is kind of the chips that hold the storage. It's the flash storage areas, the chips on the board that take care of your data. Now, different brands use different NAND, and if you go through the entire family of each individual SSD vendor, you will find that the higher the tier, the price threshold as well, you have a much better DWP, data writes per day, or DWD, whatever, PD, there's lots of different names for it. And on top of that, the NAND that is involved, so it's reboot and fresh update. With that SSD NAND changing from device to device, the availability of the lower end of the spectrum, again, that 500 to 2 TB, has resulted in a number of those NAND chips just not being available. And the result is that if you're going for the top tier stuff, where a lot of those don't even go as low as 500 gig, they have weirdly become easier to get than the smaller ones. Now, this does knock on to another effect as well in terms of manufacture, because it's not just the NAND, those chips on the board, there are little things there. It also affects the utilization of manufacturers to produce casing, SATA boards, external chassis as well. All of that is filtered, and that doesn't even include retail kits. So the result is that with so many areas of the manufacturing chain affected by this, the result is that we are seeing fewer and fewer of the drives that actually require technically the most manufacture, because it's got the most parts in its kind of retail kit and structural design. You may notice a lot more enterprise level hard drives. They don't even come with metal casing. They're just chips on a board. Now, what does this do? What is the impact of this? Well, first and foremost, supply and demand. So the fewer the SSDs that are out there, the higher the price will go. We have enjoyed a trend of the price of SSDs coming down, and with the price of hard drives always being lower, but the price of hard drives staying and the price of SSDs getting lower to a point where I remember when I started this channel, the price of an SSD was 10 to 12 times that per gigabyte than a hard drive, and now we're looking at between 3 and 5 times that. But not anymore. We're starting to see that bell curve go back up. We're starting to see the price of SSDs going up again. Now, retail outlets, and again I include span.com, but of course every one of the players is involved in this. They're all now stocking up what SSDs they can get, of which there isn't many. And then, they're not going to do special deals on this. So then you're looking at buying drives where a store might say, we've got this drive, you're not going to get it for 10 to 20 days. Is that cool? And unfortunately, that's your only choice. So right now, if you're umming and ahhing about a purchase, and one of the factors you are utilizing is they don't have any in stock, that's pretty much going to be the case everywhere for the next 3 to 4 months as time wears on. We do think this is going to get turned around, of course, but this takes time. And I haven't even spoken about possibly one of the most silent yet deadly areas of SSD availability being reduced, and that is of course OEMs. You have companies that are creating products that feature SSDs inside, everything from new phones and new tablets like new iPads and new iPhones, all the way up to brand new consoles from companies like Sony and Microsoft. These new consoles arrived, particularly the new gen is going to arrive with SSDs inside. So when they buy in bulk, and the OEMs, be they for PC manufacturer, console or home commercial client device market, that bulk buying is going to significantly hurt bare SSD purchases, be they external drives or internal. So what is the light on the horizon here? What can I tell you that makes this better? Well, first and foremost, this isn't going to be forever. Production is ramping up. And from what we understand, the coronavirus effects are now being reduced, as well as the reopening of manufacturing plants. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. Next, we are going to see a sudden, output of SSDs, which can only result in, when the price going up and up and up, it's going to come down and then bounce down and try to re-establish itself. So just like we saw with the likes of the Samsung 960 and 970 NVMe SSD series, if you don't need an SSD right now, you might get a bargain 9 months, 12 months down the line, which is great to hear, particularly for you Black Friday hunters. But for the rest of you that need an SSD right now, there is no point waiting, a week or two and thinking, they'll get some stock in. They're probably not. They'll only, orders will be per order. And I'm including Amazon in this as well. I'm not saying Amazon are too big to be hit by this. They definitely will be. But what do you think? Maybe you've learned more about this that I don't know. Maybe that this is going to end sooner than we think. Do let me know in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, click like. If you want to learn more, click subscribe, and I'll try and give you an update about this in the next 2 months. And otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.